Hey guys, it's Graham. What's cracking? We are talking about Shogun again. I'm into part 2 of the audiobook, and this episode will take us up through chapter 35. When I last left off, Mariko and Blackthorn did the Devil's Tango. Although, when Blackthorn wakes up the next day and he's all Twitter-pated and enjoying that afterglow, he gets a chance to pull her aside and talk to her, and she's like, "No, I didn't come in there and do the hibbity-dibbity with you. That was totally my maidservant. I sent her in to pillow you because I could tell that you needed it. And it's just a totally normal thing, and love isn't real. We just do this thing because it's in need of the flesh," or blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "Nah, I don't believe you. Did you? Didn't you? Was it you? Wasn't it you?" He does this whole back and forth bit, but you're like 99% sure that Mariko did this. Which, as it turns out later, yeah. In addition to that, he starts teaching some more of his English customs to the Japanese. There's a scene where he teaches them how to fire cannons better and how to do artillery runs better. And there's some beef between him and the old guard as they're trying to say, like, no, don't make us reliant on black powder weapons. We need to be training with samurai weapons only. Samurai always use the sword. And so there's a bit of like new world versus old world, just people clashing over different beliefs and practices already. There was also some more talk of the different food customs between the two, which I think just does some good work to set the table and illustrate the differences between the Old East and the Old West. He eats different meats and different foods compared to the Japanese. He talks about how they're always eating raw seafood, and the meat is fine, but it all looks disgusting. And it's not served with anything that he finds appetizing, and he shows them how to kill and like field dress a rabbit. And it's really revolting to them. A whole bunch of the women leave the room as he's doing this demonstration of skinning it. Mariko leaves, and she's trying not to vomit. And this is something I'm going to track throughout the next couple of chapters, because I distinctly got the impression that she was pregnant, and that it was just the rabbit guts setting that off. My wife has had severe, what do they call it, hyperemesis gravidarum through all 3 pregnancies, and yeah. You get a woman that's like all of a sudden just barfing uncontrollably and can't hold her nausea down, that sets off my radar, like, oh, somebody's preggers. So we'll see if that happened. That whole dynamic gets more complicated when Mariko's estranged husband returns. Estranged is kind of the wrong word for it, because it can be normal in this culture for a woman who is just kind of given away as a marriage assignment. She's legally kept by a man, but he doesn't really care about her. That's kind of her situation, because she's the daughter of a trader. Although, it's a little bit more complex and nuanced than that. He basically owns her to do with her as he displeases. He won't let her commit as he displeases. He won't let her commit seppuku. He keeps her alive to add to her shame, and he also beats her. And as Blackthorn has become understandably possessive and protective of Mariko, this creates a complicated dynamic, but he's not, for cultural, for political reasons, Blackthorn's not just going to go beat the crap out of Mariko's husband. Also, this guy can hold his liquor extremely well. Blackthorn does what he can to deliberately get this guy drunk off of sake, and there's this awesome scene where he's sitting in the living room of the house where Blackthorn lives, and he fires arrows through the paper wall of the front of the house and places them all, like, I swear he fires like 4 or 5 arrows, places them all within an inch of each other in a post on the fence in Blackthorn's front yard, like just as a flex, to say like, hey, I paid attention to where things are and I stay oriented to it, and just to show that like he can track all this stuff in his mind, and he's an excellent marksman, and he can do all this stuff drunk. There's an unspoken undercurrent of masculine competition between Blackthorn and Mariko's husband. Very tense scene, very well written. And then later that night, Blackthorn goes into her and she's had the crap beat out of her by her husband. Whether or not he knows that Mariko and Blackthorn did the hibbity dibbity remains to be seen, but just more intense developments have gone on between them, and as he continues to learn his Japanese and get better and get closer to keeping all of the people in Anjiro alive after this 1 year. There was also a scene with an earthquake and a typhoon came in and knocked down all these lightweight wooden and paper houses. But I guess that's one of the appeals of that type of construction, is that it's light, it's flexible, and if it does fall down, it's easy to put back together again. Japan gets a lot of earthquakes, and Blackthorn saves Toranaga, who's kind of like buried under one of these houses after this earthquake, which just goes to increase his favor. So it's progressing. It's slow, as it's been for that whole first part of it, but I'm enjoying the slow burn on this, and the long dialogue sections between Mariko and Blackthorn, or Blackthorn and Toranaga, or Toranaga and Ishido. It's good. It's brush strokes on a canvas, and it's very well done. So I will keep plucking at it, and we'll get through this beast in a couple of more weeks. Till next time, drive safe. See you out there.